subscribe us and like us. Nice!
Hello everyone, as we told you in the previous episode, today we'll continue to talk about the independence movement in Korea during the Japanese occupation.
Koreans tried hard to guard our spirit, culture, and country.
Japan banned Koreans to use Korean, and even more, all Koreans had to use Japanese name for 35 years. Koreans thought that losing Korean is losing same as losing their identity. So inheriting Hangul to next generation became an important job in the independence movement. Activists and scholars gathered and organized the Korean Language Society. They enacted the Korean orthography to protect our soul and identity.
After the March First movement, there was another movement raised by the students. This time it raised after the death of Sunjo. It was big as March First movement, and of course Japanese didn't like it. Japan was afraid that the protest would encourage the independence movement and tried hard to stop it. Even though it was a peaceful movement and the majority were young students, Japanese police used violence and many of them were arrested just like the March First movement.
Shingane was an organization that had about total membership of 30,000 to 40,000 people. There is a big gap between the numbers because it was a secret organization. Koreans couldn't just watch Japan erase our heritage. Because Japan tried to destroy Korean history and culture. Korea fought back harder not to lose our identity. So Shingane gathered money and started building schools that taught Korean language and history.
Koreans were always treated unfairly by Japanese. This made Koreans angry, but we couldn't fight back to them. Koreans suppressed their feeling and waited for the right moment. But when some Japanese student sexually harassed a Korean female student, we couldn't keep it in anymore. Many students came out to the street and protested against Japan's audacity. This started from Gwangju, but it spread all the way to Seoul.
The independence movement was not always peaceful. Sometimes we had to be extreme. In 1931, Kim Il-sung founded the Korean Patriotic Organization 한인애국단. It was a secret organization that aimed to assassinate the Emperor of Japan and many other important figures like Ito Hirobumi. The Korean Patriotic Organization caused great damage to Japanese government and made the rest of the Koreans to stick to each other tighter during the occupation.
Lee Bong-chang was one of the members of the Korean Patriotic Organization. He tried to assassinate the Emperor of Japan, but eventually failed. But still his brave actions encouraged many Koreans and Chinese to fight back strongly toward Japan. As time passed, the members of the Korean Patriotic Organization became the foundation of the fourth Korean government after the independence.
In August 15, 1945, Japan finally surrenders after America atomized Hiroshima, Japan. For Korea, this meant independence from Japan.
Our independence movement didn't have enough power to win Japan in battles, but it gave us the strength to reconstruct our country back. Because of the independence movement, we never forgot our identity as Korean.
As Koreans, we should never forget the great people who sacrificed their lives for the independence movement to continue this amazing heritage for us today.